issue 3 of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow here as we get things started. And Mike, the tone is about to change a little bit for this series.
Yeah.
Not that it's a bad thing, but we're going to start adding more depth to our story. What we have here is Supergirl and Ruthie land on a planet called Maypole, I believe is the name of it. I don't have every page here. And it's inhabited by like these blue people that you see kind of in the cover
creepy looking farts.
But like they show up there on the planet and they're like talking to the sheriff and or the head of the police there for this
town. Yeah, sure.
And he's
sheriff
like,
basically.
He's like, the bathrooms don't work, so like you're not going to be able to use them. And they're like, no, that's not what we're like. He's just not listening to anything they say, and he's just kind of ignoring them while he's working on like a house of cards. And so they're essentially asking like, hey, I'm trying to find this creme of the Yellow Hills. They're like, don't know what you're talking about. And he's just ignoring them. So Supergirl just kind of like blows his house of cards over as they leave, realizing like we're not getting any help here whatsoever. See there, that's cool. There's the mute on the mic.
So I like you have a cough button.
Have a cough button.
Nice.
They go, Supergirl and Ruthie go to check in at a local hotel there.
There, I used mine.
Nice. We're both using our cough buttons. And when Supergirl goes to sign in, there's like 2 places on the sign-in sheet, like a left and right, and one's blue and one's purple. And so Supergirl's like, I'm sorry, I'm confused. Like, where do I sign? Am I purple or am I blue? And the woman behind the desk is, you're under blue. Like all off-worlders are under blue. Like my mother always said, to be purple, you got to be purple. And Supergirl's just kind of like flipping through this book. And she goes, looks like you haven't had anybody sign in the purple in a while. And the woman's like, yeah, used to have a bunch of them, but for some reason now, we just don't. But I mean, like, yes, there haven't been any in a while. You just sign there in the blue and like everything will be fine. And Supergirl is still just kind of confused by this. She's like, well, why'd they stop coming? And the woman essentially tells her like, well, my dear, if you want a room, you have to go ahead and sign the effing book. That's the law. Ain't no law says that we have to like, give you, what does she say? Give ourselves a useful conversation.
Yeah.
And so Supergirl's kind of like, okay, I'm not getting the full story here.
No.
And she's not liking the attitude she's getting from the people either, but she goes ahead and she signs the book. And then she goes out of their hotel room. And I really like this. And she kind of floats up above the town that they are there, Maypole. And what she's doing is she's scanning. Like she's using her powers to scan through to see who's all in the city.
Right.
And so she's floating there and Supergirl goes, I can see everyone. And Ruthie goes, any of them cream of the Yellow Hills? And Supergirl goes, no, everyone's blue. Like she's a little still perplexed by this. So they go to grab like food the next day while they're there trying to hunt down, hey, has Krim been through here? And while they're there asking like, do you need something? The waitress does. And Supergirl goes, yeah, that sign behind the counter there. I realized that you painted over it. It used to say no purples. Why no purples? And then why like paint over it? And the waitress just goes, are you going to order something? Like I have other customers. And Supergirl's like, well, I'm asking about the sign. And she goes, I heard you. And I'm asking you about an order. Like, ma'am, like you should focus on that. And then, or else get out of the way. We all know about you. Like we all know while you're here. And she says, whole galaxy does you. Where does it say that? I'm sorry. It's hard for me to read. Oh, we all know about you. Whole galaxy does you destroyed your planet. Come here to try to do the same thing to ours. Like, don't mess ours up. And so she's kind of like thrown off by all this.
Yeah, these beings suck. I don't like these people.
They are. That night, Ruthie's awakened from a hotel room in pitch black, and it's Supergirl who goes in there and essentially tells her like, and covers her face. And about that time, she catches a bullet that was shot into the room to save Ruthie, and she essentially like human shields her and takes all the bullets as they spray the room, just trying to shoot whoever is in there. So Supergirl goes to the mayor's office. Yeah, I thought the art even of that was just really cool with the yellows and the
gorgeous,
oranges.
Yeah.
And they're just swaying by as you also get
they're
to
in
see
a firefight,
zooming in.
So, yeah.
Just zooming in on Ruthie's face. It's so great.
Yeah.
So she goes to the mayor of this place, and he's just sitting there like, I'm so glad that you allegedly caught whoever tried to kill you, but like, I can't give you like control over my government to go out and try to do whatever you want to do here. Like, that's not how this runs. Like, you've come here acting like we owe you something. Like, we don't do what you want us to do. You have to quit trying to boss us around like that. And Supergirl's like, y'all are up to something and I know it, but nobody's telling me anything. And she like picks up his desk and like slams it down and like breaks it in front of him. And she goes to like leave, and the mayor goes, I could have you arrested. And she turns around and goes, you could try, and then just leaves. And so what she does is her and Ruthie kind of fly out to the outskirts of town where there's nothing else out there. And she's scanning for a good while until she finally finds something, and she lands and she starts digging and digging and digging. And she uncovers dug down beneath there a sign for like a town sign that says Purple Town on it. And then she keeps digging more after that, and it's just like a mass grave of skeletons. So then she goes back to the main sheriff, head police officer from before, and she just bursts right in, and she's like, talk. And he's like, you have no right, and shoots her just point blank in the face. And I love the art on this too. And you see the bullet just hit there, and she just takes her hand and just like brushes it away. And you can see the fear on the police chief's face of like,
and his giant freaky eyes.
I messed up. And we find out then that not long before Supergirl and Ruthie got there to Maypole, there were two people, the purple and the blues. The blues were the wealthier, more abundant, and they considered the purples to kind of be less than. It's your typical kind of story of what we're used to in a lot of different ways. And so they made the purple people live on the outskirts of Maypole in like lesser housing and just worse situations. Well, what happened was, so that was that small village named Purple Town. And that's how things were until the brigands arrived. And who the brigands are we're about to find out, along with Krim, are going to be our main kind of bads for the rest of the story. They are Barbin's brigands. And they're described as this group that is just so incredibly ruthless of space pirates. That's essentially what they are. They're space pirates. But they will just show up on a planet and just kill and slash everything with no regard for anything, just for the fun of it, and then leave. They'll come to these rich planets and you can try to pay them off, and that still might not do anything because their bloodlust isn't like, quenched. Like, they just do things, they do whatever they want to. And a lot of it is usually just leave a path of destruction in their wake. Yeah. So they show up to Maypole, and the mayor's like begging them, like, please don't hurt us. Like, we can give you this amount of money. And like nothing they're doing is like enough to satiate the brigands. And so the mayor and the police are talking about this when Krim of the Yellow Hills overhears them, because see, Krim was there in Maypole. He had been arrested for like drunken disorderly conduct in public. So he was just hanging out in a holding cell, and he hears them talk about it. And he essentially tells them like, hey, I think I have an answer to your problems. Why don't you offer them all of the purple people, everybody in Purple Town? To which that's exactly what they did. And the brigands realized that Krim of the Yellow Hills is just as soulless, just, a bloodthirsty kind of, OS as the rest of them.
Oh, he's in it for him. Yeah. I mean, he's anything to save his skin.
And so the blues essentially sacrificed all of the purples in Purple Town to the brigands so that everybody else in Maypole could live. And we end the story like, I mean, it's gorgeous, but still just kind of horrific at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't have it. I wish I added the page. The last page is like Ruthie is kind of shocked by all this because it would make sense. I mean, her being from a place where something like that isn't necessarily common to see. And she's like, they're just going on about their regular happy lives. Like nothing happened. Like, and they've done something just so awful. And like Supergirl has to sit there and comfort her. And Ruthie says, we're so small and it's so big. Of just of just how like just evil and depressing and stuff the world is out there.
Yeah.
And it's Supergirl there like comforting Ruthie in that moment. And the two of them are like, all right, come on, we have to go on to the next place. Like we have to keep, going on our mission. Yeah. And that then ends issue 3 of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.